Good morning everyone and welcome back to the Two-Headed Wolf gaming channel at Epoch and of course the Shaman with the close combat spellcasting build. A weird mix, but one that works either way and it's actually a lot of fun to play. If you don't know what I'm doing with this series, in between the episodes I'm farming for extra levels and gear so that I can return during the episode and actually spend those points, talk about the choices that I'm making and why I'm making them, and then also talk about gear, a bit of crafting. I might not be an expert on it, but I'm thinking that adding all this knowledge to yours might be entertaining and you could actually put it to good use. With this in mind, we're gonna start today with spending passive and active skill points, then we're gonna talk about gear, and then we're gonna challenge two bosses which I've unlocked here in the monolith, and then we'll do a bit of farming around as well, just to see the power level for this, yes, this character, this build, however you wanna call it. Either way, let's start with passive skill points. Now, overall, on the offensive power side, I feel like I'm doing pretty well. I mean, I am doing 6500 here, I think a bit more if I'm getting buffed by these crows here. And there's also, when I'm putting down a totems, I'm getting even more damage, and with all the passives that I'm getting during fights, I can even get Tempest Strike to around 10,000 to 12,000 damage, and that's pretty good for this level. I mean, I don't have problems taking down enemies, and bosses, many times they die pretty quickly. However, I am feeling quite squishy in many moments. So I've been looking around and trying to figure out, well, where would I want to invest? Getting extra health would definitely help. Like, for example, I could go here with Tempest Form and just get another 10 health per each point that I invest. But I could also go here with Conflux, and this is what I'm thinking I'll invest in first. Because we're getting less damage taken from shocked enemies. If I invest 3 more points here, we are going to get 3% less damage, and at this moment it's actually a good number basically. And if I also increase the area for area skills, that means that we are going to damage more enemies with Maelstrom and things like that. So I believe that maximizing Conflux first here is really good for us and very useful. I have 3 more points, and I was thinking either to go with flat spell damage or at least go 2 more points here in getting those multiplier, another 10% extra damage, right? And this would bring us to what? Almost 6,700 when we are buffed by the ravens. And with the final point, I guess with the final point, we could get some spell damage and maybe some minion spell damage. Getting increased physical and cold damage could also help, because it would help Maelstrom first of all. Whenever it casted, the Maelstrom would get that extra damage. And because of Tempest Strike, it would also add to the Frigid Tempest and the Wind Tempest with the physical damage. So that is something which I'm also thinking maybe to start investing towards, although for the moment, probably the best choice that I could do, armor with active totem, that wouldn't be bad for defenses either, as I am putting down quite a few totem, or at least one totem. We're not focused on it. So what do I want? Flat spell damage or a bit of armor? Just because I'm getting some mana regeneration with active totem at 3%, it's 3%. So let's get 1 point here, and then I think I'm going to go for spell damage there. I don't want to invest any further in totems, that's not our thing. But getting this extra defense might be really good. Then we're gonna go in specialization, and over here I've reached the maximum level of 20, so we're spending the final points. I am going to go with Tempest Weapon here on Gathering Storm, just to get that extra damage per free melee damage. Right? We're getting spell damage per free melee damage if we have equipped an axe or a mace, and I do have an axe, it's what I've been focusing on. So this is going to raise our damage in spellcasting. The best way to see the damage that we are doing is here in Gathering Storm over here. We're almost doing 4,000 damage per Storm Bolt, and that's really cool. For Tempest Strikes, I am thinking probably a bit more area and extra damage rather than attack speed or anything else, and less mana cost. Let's do that. Let's get this extra area. That's how we'll maximize it. Over here on Maelstrom, we're getting Wind Fury. If you have 6 stacks on Maelstrom, which we do now most of the time, you gain Frenzy, which will increase our attack speed and cast speed by 20%. That is a huge boost to our damage. It's going to be super awesome. As far as the Ravens go though, I am really debating how long will I want to keep the Ravens around. Now they're really good because they boost our spellcasting damage. They also take some of our lightning damage and actually throw it back at enemies. Basically, it's pretty good. They do chain lightning. They can help us clear a lot. However, they are super squishy. They are so squishy that even adding another point here in nimbleness would not matter anymore. As long as you don't have gear which offers you minion health, you will see my crows going down so much. And it is a bit annoying, but what can you do? If you're not focused on it, well, you're not focused on it. And thus, at least for now, for that extra point, let's get this one. Get a bit more critical strike chance and damage. Might not be the wildest choice in the world. Maybe a bit more shock chance and lightning resistance could help more. Let's maximize the potential for damage there, and getting some extra critical strike chance sounds pretty good to me. Over here on Warcry, we're gonna go with even larger areas so that the Warcry reaches huge heights, right? It's going to help us stun enemies and thus increase our survivability. So that is as far as skill points go. Here, this is going to be a bit interesting here, as I found some cool pieces of gear. You know, I wanted to replace the amulets, the rings, because they're really bad, and I also wanted to look for a better relic, and I actually found 2 relics which fit our build. Dedication of an Erased Primalist here. It offers us 11 health, 11% increased minion health, plus 1 to all Primalist skills. That's awesome. 12% less damage over time taken from slowed enemies. I'm not sure how much we're slowing enemies. I haven't really seen enemies being slowed down. We're chilling them, but that's very different than what this says. And 42% chance on hit to grant one of your minions aspect of the spider. I don't know exactly what aspect of the spider does. Does it say here if I'm looking for it? Aspect? No, it does not. Who would have aspect of the spider? Let's look for spider here. Nope. It doesn't say here either. Let's see. Maybe one of these? Nope. I don't know exactly what aspect of the spider does, but we'll leave it alone. It doesn't really matter. It's going to cast either way, apparently. And maybe we will see it on the character. But the more important thing here is that we are getting that 16 Weaver's Wheel. That means that this piece of gear is getting experience. And when it's getting experience, when it's getting enough experience, it's going to throw on itself some random modifiers. If you take a look at the current relic that I'm running with, there's nothing there. Except for that 33% decreased lightning damage, there's really nothing special that I'm getting out of it. So overall, this will be better from 2 points of view. One, hopefully we're going to roll really well and it's going to help us to do more damage. So how much damage are we losing? About 100? 90, not even 100. However, we are getting +1 to all primary skills. That means that over here, I can assign an extra point. So I can push this even further than before. This is a really cool piece of gear. I don't know exactly how I will replace it later on, but for now, we're gonna have some fun with it. Let's increase the melee area and additional storm stack chance. We're gonna give it to 100%. I think I like that a bit more than anything else. With Tempest Strike here, we're just gonna go even further with area and damage. With Maelstrom, I was thinking, what exactly should we be doing? I mean, at 60 attunement, I'm going to get even more damage with this skill, and I am at 64, so now I'm getting a lot more damage with Maelstrom. I could go with more duration. That is one thing to keep pushing and stack up. And I am thinking either go with this, Power of the Storm, where the stacks required for Power of the Storm to happen or to drop a lot of Storm Bolts would be reduced by 1, or I could go with additional target. Let's go with additional target. So whenever we have 6 stacks of Maelstrom, Storm Bolts will start dropping on enemy, and by going with Energize, we're getting an additional target. That's extra damage, we don't have to do anything for it, we're just going to have to stack Maelstrom, and that is going to be great for us. As far as Raven goes, I think at this moment, I'll push another 10% here on critical strike chance, and with Warcry, even more area, and there it is. I think we've just boosted our power to so much higher than before, especially when we're in action. And if the Weaver's Will doesn't roll well for us, I have another one. It's weaker than the one that I've just equipped. However, it could still turn out to be better if this one doesn't roll well. Then I have a ring here, which will replace this one. So I'm losing here 39% increased spell damage and some mana regeneration, some resistances as well. However, there's still place to craft on this ring. What I like about it is that I'm getting 102 health and a bit of attunement, and that makes me really happy because I need health, I need some defense as we're pushing further into the game, and increases critical strike chance, so overall that's good. At this moment, I'm just gonna replace all the equipment. I'm not gonna craft anything until I see the situation. So we're gonna replace everything that I have, and then we're gonna craft depending on what we need. This ring, it is a powerful ring. I mean, if I remove this ring, you can see I'm losing 400 power there. But that's, except for that increased lightning damage and a bit of elemental resistance, this ring does not do much for me. I'm thinking of replacing it in the future as well. Then I have this amulet, which gives us some fire resistance, lightning resistance, and it's giving us a lot more elemental or lightning damage. It's giving me a few more poison resistances there. I don't know if chances to ignite on hit will still apply, but I don't have a lot of ignite or fire damage over time to really make it matter. So overall, I don't think it's going to add up to a whole lot. However, still better than what we're running with right now. We're going from 6800 damage to 7000, so that is an easy upgrade there, and we'll see what we craft afterwards. This one, the belt, gives us 67 ward gain on potion use, but more important, 100% chance to cleanse all elements on potion use. I like that. I want to keep that, or to have that on us, because we can get poisoned quite often, or get some elements which could be really bad for us. I also have this armor, which gives us some spell damage. We lose a tiny bit of armor there, but more importantly, physical resistance, which is crafted. But depending on how we sit on our resistances here at the end of this equipment pick or equipment replacement, we might want to throw this in just because of the fire resistance that we can push even further away or further up, and maybe getting a bit of attunement on it as well. On the other side, it seems like this scepter right here, with increased spell damage, with 98% elemental damage, with 11% lightning penetration, and the extra spell damage that we're getting for the base scepter, it seems like it's a lot better than this wand right here, which was pretty cool, don't get me wrong. However, if I can have better, why not? And I think as far as crafting goes, I'll start with the scepter here, just because I can throw a bunch of these spell damages on it. I'm not gonna craft anything else for now, we're gonna leave it at this, but overall that is a really nice upgrade. And I'll talk about this totem a bit later. It's not gonna happen now. Let's see the situation of our resistances. So we're missing a lot of cold and necrotic. Poison at 55% is not bad, but necrotic and cold, we really need it. So let's see if we can do anything with our gear at the moment. By going to forging, I will take a look here. So we can throw in a bit more poison resistance on this side. I will maximize it. This brings us to our maximum, we don't need to worry about that anymore. Over on this side, we have an open slot. So at this moment, we can go and we can look at necrotic resistances. We have quite a bit of forging potential on it, so we can try to bring it as far as possible. That's really nice, we're at 31% now. With the rest of the forging potential, I'm thinking throwing in a bit more attunement and actually increase healing effectiveness. Why not? Look at that, a pretty decent ring, 32 necrotic resistance, not bad at all. Instead of this lightning damage, in this situation, I think for now I'm just going to run with this. Let's see, can I do anything on the belt? I can get a bit more poison resistance, but we're already at maximum. Physical resistance, are we good on physical resistance? Yeah, we're still good. We're not good on cold. I think what I'll do is that I'll replace things like this, just to have that high necrotic resistance. We still have good damage. I'm not gonna replace this armor just yet, right? Because that would give us a loss on physical resistances as well. And I might be able to craft one thing on it or improve one thing on it, but it's not good enough. If I put down a totem, we would have maximum cold resistances. So I feel like this could work, right? This sort of build could work. And as I said, we'll talk about that set piece a bit later because it's a tiny bit special. Either way, I think we've talked enough about gear and I think we've talked enough about the experience. Let's go on our missions and let's try to fight these bosses and see how it goes. I'm feeling fairly confident. Let's see.
Why are you fighting for these beasts? No matter.
I'll try to take it down
Soon enough,
this one first, like the
the chill
leech.
of death surrounds you.
Oh, or it's just the leech. I think it's just the leech.
Can you feel your blood begin to freeze?
As you can see, the damage we are doing is really good. As far as defenses go, I don't feel weak.
Your body will make an exceptional servant.
We are stunning them, we are doing a lot of damage.
Your interference ends now.
There it is.
These beasts obey me.
There are bosses which are a bit more challenging to us.
The chill of death.
However, this is not one of them. Ah, look, we have a slow on. Look, if you look at the leech and you see the snail, that means that we are applying slow. I didn't know that that was the case,
Feel your blood
but now I know.
begin to freeze. Your body will make
There it
an
is.
exceptional servant.
It has died. We got another amulet. Necrotic damage, some freeze, chill. Okay, nothing for us, unfortunately. But that is one of the bosses. Nice and easy. Increase one-handed axe drop rate. Yes, I want that. We'll do this. Firm selection. Because I want to have this one-handed axe in the secondary hand. Remember, for this one, just to get the spell damage per free melee damage on the equipped axe. That's how we're maximizing our spell damage. Melees, once again, being a trigger. Melee damage does not matter, we're using melee damage to cast spells. I'm repeating that a lot. Hopefully you don't find it too annoying. I am repeating it because there might be new people who have just joined this series, and I'm trying to explain what I'm doing here, and I know some of the things are weird and maybe the episodes is not what you're used to from other people. Let's jump into this boss battle as well. Slay Lagon to end the storm. This might be a bigger challenge than the last boss. just because of everything we have to do, and he does some cold damage, so I'm thinking in this situation with the totems and everything, because of the cold damage that he's doing, we will have to keep up the totems. Okay, have to be a bit more careful here. As you can see, damage-wise, everything works well. Warcry also triggers quite often because we also trigger it on hit. Okay, move away. The moon is starting to rise. Put down another totem here. Tankiness wise, it seems like I'm doing okay. Better than before. Okay, I have to be careful there. I'll summon the ravens again as well. Have to avoid the waves. Let me get some healing going here. Okay, so far so good. Down another totem. I think this does this phase happen until the moon is getting full again? I think that is the case, right? That seems to be the situation. Good. I'm going to fight him again here.
Is that the best you can do?
Once again, run again. Okay, almost got me there, but not yet. Ooh. Okay, he got me. That was my bad. I died a few more times, so I decided at this point I had to step back, take a look at the character and see what I can fix. And of course, the main thing being the cold resistances that I can cap using a totem. But whenever the totem gets destroyed or it disappears or something, our cold resistances go down, so we can get killed by even less repeat attacks than the instant kills. And so I looked at the equipment that I was running with so far, and I saw that the belt had some natural cold resistance on it, plus some elemental resistance in the modifier, and thus I decided to try a bit of crafting, got some extra lightning damage, got some extra armor. Overall, if we throw it in, we're getting back our cold resistances to the max. So this, hopefully, should be enough for us to fight him, and actually take him down. At least for running this build, I think that this might be the most annoying boss out of any of them. Just because, as far as I can tell, his resistances... He has resistances where we have strengths. He most likely has lightning resistance, cold resistance, and some physical resistance.
Your blood will be but a drop in my ocean.
There's nothing much that we can do about it.
Can you survive my scores? You are starting to bore me.
So far so good. Let's try to revive this crow here. The other one I will be summoning straight up. Few cheats on these attacks. huge damage.
Is that the
Try to avoid that. Let's do as much damage as we can here. We got to phase 2 once again, so that's good. Whenever I'm using Warcry, it seems like the waves are disappearing, so that's a good way in which we could cancel some of those effects out. I think the most useful thing you could have while fighting this boss is actually a traversal skill. Anything that can quickly take you in and out of certain combat. If you can jump from one side of the arena to the other, I think that is probably the best choice.
blood will be the drop in my ocean?
And this is one annoying thing, which it's just a bug here. It seems like it's just a bug. It doesn't seem like it disappears. As once you hit like the empty space a few times, the tentacle is appearing again.
My waves will shatter you.
Go. Let's bring in totems again. I'll do a war cry here, just to get some of that maelstrom going. Good, 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 good. So far, so good. I'll try not to get too greedy here.
Can you survive my skull? You are starting to bore me.
Okay, let me return here. Good. So far, so good.
Waves will shatter you.
I can bring in another crow. We can avoid the wave there. I can avoid his lightning damage. I think we almost got him. Once again, let's not get too greedy, and there it is. Ooh, this was brutal. This was definitely something which I didn't think I would struggle against. Stun chance, mana, or shred lightning resistance on hit. I think I like this as a modifier. For us, it's definitely very useful. This is our main form of attack. What did we get here? A two-handed sword with a lot of cold and lightning damage. Cool. And the relic. Plus 6 spell lightning damage for you and your totems. Plus 12% lightning penetration for you and your totems. 68% shock chance for you and your totems. 36% lightning resistance for you and your totems. 80 mana. 12% chance to summon a storm totem on hit. 8 seconds cooldown. And 6 attunement. Well, what we're running with right now is giving us +1 to Warcry, Endurance Threshold, and 94% minion health, plus the Primal skills. 12 of these are so crazy good that I don't know exactly which one to equip. But let's pick that one up. Do I want the -1 on all skills? And which skills will they remove? That is the question. Either way, let's continue our journey. We have a few more minutes on our hands, so we can try to figure this out. And I can show you a different item. Let's work with this one. This is an interesting item for me here. It's a scepter. It's one which seems specifically built for a shaman. 21% chance to summon a storm totem on hit with Tempest Strike. Tempest Strike being this one. 21% lightning damage to spells and attacks when you are hit by lightnings from storm totems for 4 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. 47% physical resistance to ally nearby a storm totem, and your companions are in range when hit by your storm totem. The thing is, that storm totem has to be hitting us in order to get that extra lightning damage. And that's a bit difficult to do. 21% chance on hit with Tempest Strikes, the one which consume a lot from our mana pool, is not that high to actually get it on the battlefield. And the problem is, if you look at the set there, once we have equipped one of these items, we are limited to one active companion. So that means that if I have 2 crows here, I equip this. Oh, no, we still stay on 2. I guess maybe we're limited to only 1 totem. It says here that you cannot control more than 1 at once, and I think it was the same thing over here with crows, that I can't summon more than 2. If I was to resummon crows, would I be getting 2 or would I be getting 1? Let's see. Okay, I got only 1. So this does have the effect of limited to 1 active companion, and I don't think that totems necessarily add to that, but maybe that is the case. We will try it out. I will show you how it is. The other problem with it is that we're not getting a whole lot of damage from just this one. We're losing a lot of damage. From 1000, from 1700 to 1000, it's pretty bad, even though we're getting some of those bonuses. If we would have found it a lot earlier, or maybe if we find more pieces from this set, maybe it's going to be worth it. Right now I'm just attacking with Tempest to see when are we getting a totem. Found another unique scepter, but we've seen it before. So I haven't, through that battle, I haven't received any of those attacks, or any of those totems during the attacks, right? So, nothing happened. Nothing happened. So that summoning doesn't work too well. What if I remove the ravens? Could I get some totems now? Doesn't seem like that is the case, does it? And now I'm running out of mana, at which point this is not going to be impressive anymore, right? If I'm losing so much spell casting potential, it's not really worth running with it. If I threw down one of these totems, it does feel like I'm getting a bit of extra power, but it's still not good enough as far as I'm concerned. So we're not gonna run with this item at the moment, since I don't see a good practical use for it in comparison to something like the other wands or the rest of the things that we're running with. So that was that test. Let's try out the final item here, Stormcarved Testament. Let's see what it does for us. We're gonna lose some power from the skills, and it's going to reset some of these skills which we are running with. Hopefully it's going to reset something less useful, but I might just go back to this one. Still, let's try it out. So we're going to go from 1500 and 7500 on these two skills to 1700 and 8642. Now they've removed a lot of our skills, and let me see if they've removed, I think they've removed the last two I've added. This is still in place. This is still in place. Yes. They've removed the point from Gathering Storm and Strong Tides. Definitely, I think the Gathering Storm they've removed. Yeah, this is a bit annoying about losing one of those points, because they are not letting you choose which point you want to remove. As soon as you remove one of those items, it's removing, look at this. We've lost a point here in Maelstrom, and they've actually kept a point here in Berserk, the last thing which I've added in. And I actually want Maelstrom instead of this one. But now I have to respec and go back through the level up process. Hopefully they will fix this in the future. And I will probably respec, I'll probably be running with this one. I mean, I am doing a lot of damage. This is definitely the type of unique item which one would want. A lot of minion dodge rating. Yeah, that looks good, but not for this build. 36% resistance, extra shock chance. We could probably do even more once we bring in totems. Look at that, 1500 there. So is this good or is this bad? I think it is good. I think as far as an item goes, it's probably the best choice. But it might be a bit more useful once if we are actually focused on totems, rather than a melee spellcaster, right? A melee triggering spellcaster. So with this in mind, let's continue the rest of the map with this one, right? It's going to give us all those points back. We can invest them wherever we think it's important. And what do we want? Stormbolt chance? Or no, we're gonna go with the stacks here. We're going to go with what else did we get over here? Probably this with the spells. Maelstrom, getting another 5% chance to cast this. You know what? I don't know if I necessarily want this point here instead of here. I think this might be better. For the Ravens, we'll just maximize the damage there. And for Warcry, definitely getting +4 and 100% here on area. And now let's try, this is the final form. At the end of the episode, this is the final form for this build. I feel like it's probably the best one out of all of them. As soon as we're getting buff, yeah, we're getting back to 16,000 damage with our skills, with the Tempest. So that should be good enough. And there it is. This has been sort of a weirder episode. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something from it. It was definitely fun to start. Definitely annoying once I got to fighting Lagan. I think that took a lot of energy out of me. I really need to take a break and make myself, you know, a cup of coffee or something to relax before I go forward. This feels like a great character to farm for, and also to melt some of the bosses that are not Lagan. I think that is our biggest weakness. Out of everything that I fought so far, even going back to the end of the campaign boss, doesn't feel anything like Lagan. But maybe once I'm starting to farm for a bit more corruption, they're starting to get a bit more strength and things like that. Everything will change, but hopefully the gear will change as well, and thus offer us a great experience going forward. This is going to have to be it. If you did enjoy this, do leave a like. It helps me, helps the channel grow, would be much appreciated. If you have any thoughts about the build or about new ideas going forward, let me know. We're gonna start with a new build soon. A new idea, something else to test out. But for now, I'm still gonna grind this one, and we'll see where we reach next. Wish you all to have a wonderful day.